can juror biases influence preponderance of evidence? Imagine sitting in a courtroom, hearing all the facts, but feeling that your own beliefs might be coloring what you see and hear. That's what juror bias is all about. It's when personal attitudes, experiences, or opinions influence how jurors interpret evidence. And that can have a big impact on whether the evidence tips the scale just over 50% in favor of one side. The preponderance of evidence is the standard used mainly in civil cases. It means that one side's evidence must be more convincing than the others. If the evidence makes it more likely than not that their claim is true, then they win. But if jurors come into the courtroom with biases, they might see the evidence differently. For example, if a juror already believes the defendant is guilty, they might give more weight to evidence supporting guilt and overlook anything that suggests innocence. That's how bias can skew the judgment of what is more likely true. There are different kinds of biases that can influence decision-making. Pre-trial biases are opinions formed before the trial even starts, often from media stories or personal experiences. These can cause jurors to form early opinions that affect how they interpret evidence later. Self-serving bias is when jurors unconsciously blame or credit people based on their own beliefs, which can distort their view of the facts. Availability bias happens when jurors focus on evidence that is easiest to recall, rather than considering all evidence equally. Fundamental attribution error is when jurors think a defendant's actions are because of their character, instead of external factors, which can influence their judgment. The legal system tries to reduce these biases through a process called voir dire. During this, attorneys question potential jurors to find and exclude those with obvious biases. But some biases are hidden and harder to spot. Even with instructions to keep an open mind and only consider the evidence presented, biases can still influence how jurors weigh that evidence. This means that biases can cause jurors to favor evidence that aligns with their pre-existing beliefs and dismiss evidence that doesn't. This can lead to unfair verdicts and undermine the fairness of the trial. For attorneys, understanding how biases work is key to selecting impartial jurors and crafting arguments that appeal to reason rather than emotion. It also highlights the importance of clear instructions from the judge to help jurors focus on the evidence and avoid letting personal biases sway their judgment. So, yes, juror biases can influence how the preponderance of evidence is perceived and evaluated. Recognizing this helps ensure that verdicts are based on facts and not just personal opinions.